Hey everybody, this is the Sliders Review, and since it's Women's History Month, I'm here today to talk to you about Batman the Animated Series Season 3, Episode 1 and 2, Shadow of the Bat. This is a very special episode and one of my favorites. It's the introduction of Batgirl. Finally, after 2 whole seasons, we finally get her. Now, to be fair, Barbara Gordon has appeared in season 2, but this is the first time she puts on the Batgirl costume, and it's an epic 2 episode event. And what Bruce Timm and his team did was very smart. Instead of having her first appearance be that a Batgirl like they did Supergirl in the Superman series, they built her up in the second season in multiple episodes. Like in the Hardak episode, we got to see her use police type skills, detective type skills to try to save her father and stuff like that. And other times we saw her do things. And then she has that gymnastic background and she's a bit older in college. And so that really helped, there's just instead of just adding her in like the Adam West Batman series did. And so that was a very smart thing to do. And I was so happy when she showed up because I love Batgirl. I first saw her in the Adam West series and stuff. And, this episode is way before she ever showed up in the Batman and Robin movie. And Batgirl has barely appeared in live action since. She briefly appeared in Birds of Prey, the television series, but that was about it. And so she rarely ever shows up, but she mostly shows up in animation. And so this was just a huge thing for me because I love Batman and I still like Batgirl because she has a cool look to her. She's the daughter of Commissioner Gordon. Sometimes she's his uncle and stuff. Oh no, he's her uncle in the comics and stuff like that, or adopted. And that one time she was Alfred's niece in the Batman and Robin movie. But here she's fledged on being Commissioner Gordon's daughter, and she has the red hair. And so in this episode, she's actually voiced by Melissa Gilbert. And Melissa Gilbert has a very distinct presence to her voice. It's a more mature, girly kind of way, but a more mature kind of way, like a young adult type version. And I really like Melissa's voice. I think it's great. Even when she acts bubbly, she's still great. Not sure why, but in the new Adventures of Batman, when they brought her on full time, they replaced her with Tara Strong. In that version, she wore a completely different costume to fit more in the comics, and she was a lot more bubby. I can't talk. Bubby. Why can't I say this word? I know how to say it. Bubby lip. What the heck? But I'm getting tongue tied. Bubby ear. Crap. she was what the world's wrong with me? I can't get my words out right now. But she had a more bubbly personality, I can say it like that. And so her personality was completely different than what it was here. And she was a lot more of a brawler in the new animated series. Whereas in the animated series, she did more of her kicks, similar to how she did in the Adam West show. And so I don't know, it's just her complete personality was just so different in the new Batman adventures. It felt like a completely different person. I do love Tara Strong voice as, and I do like that version. It's just weird because they're like night and day from each other. And so in this version, she has a completely different costume that's more similar to that of Batman from Batman the Animated Series. And I know, and it's so weird because I remember when she appeared in the first episode of season 3, I'm all cool, when's she gonna appear next? Well, she kind of doesn't. Throughout the entire season, she's absent, but then she shows up in the very last episode. And the last episode doesn't even have Batman. It's just Batgirl, Catwoman, and Robin just tags along, sneaking around and stuff. And it was so weird to, have her only appear in like 2 episodes in season 3, because season 3 is over 20 something episodes, right? And so then she didn't reappear until the Sub-Zero movie with Dr. Freeze, and there she was voiced by a completely different person, but she only shows up as Batgirl for like a couple of seconds. The rest, she's just Barbara Gordon and everything. And then she appears in the New Adventures as like a full-fledged member of like the Bat Team and stuff. And there she has more episodes she's in, but she never gets a solo episode except for when she tags with Supergirl. And it's just quite bizarre how, like, she was shown so few, like, back in the day. And she, in my opinion, she's a huge fan favorite. So I don't know what the world happened and stuff. It was just mostly just like Batman and Robin doing their thing and stuff. And so in this episode, Barbara has to save her father, Commissioner Gordon. I cannot believe how many people in this episode have passed away. The actor who voices Rupert Thorne, Alfred, of course, Batman himself. And Commissioner Gordon. That's 4 people who have died. And it's like, man, this just came out in the 90s and stuff. And may they all rest in peace. It's just so weird, like, thinking about that. It's the same way when I start talking about Power Rangers, Mighty Morphin, and how many people passed away in that. Like, it's just so weird, And so, like, in this episode, something terrible happens to Commissioner Gordon. He has been framed for money laundering and working for the mob. And so, like, she has to clear his name. Now, there's a new detective on the show named Gil Mason. And so he's supposed to be like this super cop who works alongside her father. He also has a crush on Barbara and stuff. And so we see Rupert Thorne getting taken down early on in the episode. And what's interesting about Rupert Thorne is that he's created for the show, but he never showed in the New Adventures. And when he showed up in Batman Mystery of the Batwoman, he had a weird card motif to him, and he was slightly slimmer. And not only that, but like he wasn't even calling the shots in that own little 3 mobster like gang they had. And then he appeared in the Batman as a cameo. So I don't really know why he never reappeared after that. And he's never been in live action. He should, but he's never been. And so, like, after Batman and the police take him down, all of a sudden the cops show up at Gordon's place. For some reason, they say they have eyewitnesses and testification and receipts of him having like money taken as bribes and like foreign accounts. And so they have to arrest him. And Barbara, I like how she stands up for her father. She lets him know that he would never do nothing like that. She's ready to punch some cops out, And because she loves her father and everything. They have a very close relationship. And so, like, of course, Batman doesn't believe it either. And he wants to, like, find out what's going on. Now, we don't know who has set up Gordon. It's a villain, a mobster. He's in silhouette, but we hear his voice, and everybody knows that voice. It's Two-Face. And so, like, Batman goes undercover as, like, a goon, and he tries to find out what's going on at these, like, shady docks. Now, I don't know why in live action Batman never done the whole disguise thing. He does it in animation all the time, but he's never done it in live action for some bizarre reason. And so she desperately wants to find out what's happening and stuff. And the police department is going to throw a rally for Gordon and everything in support. And she wants Batman to show up. After Batman contacts that of Gordon secretly and everything, he wants Barbara far away from this. So her and Batman get into an argument. He's all like, I don't do like fundraisers and parades and stuff like that. And so she decides, you know what? If you're not going to do it, I'm going to do it. And so he has Robin go in his place. Now, Bruce Timm has stated he does not like this version of Robin that he created, the Dick Grayson version, because this version's, the plucky dude who runs off the mouth, and that's very gooberish. Yeah, at first, when I first watched this years ago, I used to love this version, but now I see what he's saying, but it's his fault for creating him so dorky-like. He tried to stay too close to the comics. And my favorite version is the one from Teen Titans, man. That one was just like amazing. And so like she goes in a makeshift like Halloween Batman costume. That looks pretty cool and everything. She does some things in the silhouette. It catches Robin's attention, so he has to be like, yo, man, who are you? And stuff. So he tries to stop her, and while all this is going on, some mobsters shot up the fundraiser thing. And so at this point in time, Batman has now figured out, like, who's, like, doing all this. And of course, it's Two-Face. So anyway, as Robin's all pissy and everything about a Batgirl, because when she was running away from him, he ripped part of her mask off and her red hair showed up. And it's like, it's so weird because not that many people in Gotham have red hair, so they should be able to figure it out. But one thing I've always noticed about this cartoon is that when heroes leap so high in the air, of course, being a kid and watching that, I assume, I guess people can just jump really high in the air. So I would try that. I'm like, hey, how come I'm not jumping up high and everything? I'm like, maybe they have like special skills that they learned from acrobatics or something. I could not figure out how they was able to do it. But it just looks so cool in animation when they do it and stuff. So anyway, Robin's like watching the footage with Alfred because he's pissed about the whole Batgirl thing. But then he noticed something. Gil Mason ducked down before the cars even like lit up the place. And so of course he's in on the tape. Plus he's the new character on the show. So of course it's him. And so Batgirl has redesigned her costume because she went to Gil's place to for some because something had happened. She saw one of the bad guys' faces, right? So she went down to the police station, saw like his mug shots and everything. And so she went to Gil's place to tell him like, hey, this is what I found out. I don't know why she didn't go to Bullock or none of the other cops, but she went to Gil. And of course, Gil has that thug at his house. So she knows that the cop is corrupt. So she redesigns the Batman costume and she makes it into Batgirl. Now, what's confusing about this is that there's two different versions in both episodes. It ends with this episode. When it ends, the gloves, the mask, the cape, and the boots are all similar to that of Batman. They're black with the blue highlights. But when it's in the next episode, now everything's a light blue color. And so, like, her and Robin are constantly like getting into it when she's spying and snooping on Gil and stuff like that. Here comes Robin, and they have like a brief altercation where they're just like kicking the crap out of each other, and it's really cool. And so he overhears what the bad guys are saying through like his bat equipment, and she somehow like just I guess she read like the lips or something like that, which is funny because Batman did the same thing early on in the episode. I love when they do that with Batman. Why can't the live action stuff ever do things like that? Batman has never been as cool as he was in Batman the Animated Series. I think Robert Pattinson's Batman did something similar, I think, but it's been a while since I saw that movie. And so, like, they now have the location of where all the stuff is going down, so they both get there and stuff. And so Batman's in dire need. And I like how Batman has to be rescued and stuff. So he's still in, like, his disguise and everything, and both Batgirl and Robin show up at different times, and they foil that of, like, the bad guy, but they trip over each other because it's kind of cute, the little weird banter they do, because, they dated in the comic books and stuff. And so, like, Two-Face now knows that if this weird thug he's never seen before is calling Robin Robin, that must be he's Batman. So they blow up the subway and water's everywhere. And so they use the grappling hook to get Batgirl out, but they are unable to because the water swept them away. So she's all on her own now while they're like underwater. They get into the subway car and they find a way to like escape. She's trying to contact the police, but it turns out the goons have like captured Gordon. They bust him out of jail and made it seem like he's the brains of the operation working for Rupert Thorne. So she has to stop everything on her own. And as she's about to stop the bad guys, here comes Batman and Robin. Like they scuffle with the bad guys, but then they manage to like stop everybody. Batman, drops a giant like wooden dollar coin on Two-Face, which is so funny. Now it's not the same one that's in his trophy room in the Batcave. That's a giant penny. And he got that from like another episode. But Batgirl, after Gordon is safe, she's still pissed at Gil and she goes after him. And so he's on the boat. She's like, dragging from behind the water, and it's very intense. I like how they let her have like the final blow to like the bad guy. She got justice in a huge scuffle on a burning boat with like the bad guys. He rips her mask off. Because she really wants revenge on, this dude trying to, incriminate her father and stuff. And I just love that, because it's like, it shows how tough she is. She's been showing how smart she's been since season 2. And I really love that whole setup of her. So after, she rescues him, because she didn't let the dude die. She rescued him as the boat blew up on the Statue of Liberty. And she swam him to safety. After all that, Gordon is cleared and stuff. And Batman or Bruce Wayne and Dick are all they hope they'll see Batgirl again one day. As she's standing next to him, and they have no idea who she is and stuff. But of course, she's just so happy that her dad is now free and innocent. And I also like this version because they gave her a stuffed animal, a bear named Wobbly with a missing eye and everything, to show that she still has her innocence. And I really like the maturity level that Melissa Gilbert brought to this character. Because if it was Batman, the new adventures of Batman, she would have been acting silly and goofy, and she would have been saying things like as if. And the only reason why she's saying things like as if is because Alicia Silverstone played that a Batgirl and Batman and Robin. And so since the new adventures came out after that, they started poking fun at the movie and stuff. Happy Women's History Month, everybody. All right, I'll talk to you later. Bye.